Hi, this is Zach with Worn&Wound. Today I'll be taking a look at the Uniform Wears M40. For those of you who are not familiar with Uniform Wears, though I bet most of you are, they came on the scene about, I'd say 4 or 5 years ago. They're really the first brand to do these very clean, modern-looking, lugless, design watches with quartz movements and a slightly higher price point. Now they're kind of the go-to watch for like this kind of stark but precise look in kind of a more fashionable, fashion-forward package. So, they're less of let's say a watch enthusiast watch and more of a kind of a design watch person's watch or a style person's watch. But they do really kind of interesting and beautiful things, and they've stuck with this aesthetic. They've pushed it to its potential like boundaries, and they're just playing now with immateriality and construction. And they're really kind of interesting and nice guys. First of all, they're based in London. We've met with them. They're really cool guys. They really care about design and how everything goes together. Like, they're really obsessive about the details. And as they've progressed, as they've been able to kind of build relationships with manufacturers, they've done much more interesting things. Now everything is Swiss-made, and like totally Swiss-made. So it's not like Asian parts coming into Switzerland. Everything is made in Switzerland. And the level of quality in this watch, though it is, a quartz watch, which I think is going to be a problem for a lot of people, the level of finishing in this watch is absolutely outstanding. I mean, this is a really beautiful watch. And this one in particular, the M40 brushed steel, really caught my eye when I met with them a couple of months ago. I love tone-on-tone watches. I love all-metal watches. And this one is probably the coolest one I've ever seen. Has incredible finishing all around the case. So it's this 40mm lugless case, all brushed stainless steel. Every element on it is steel, just using different finishing on the dial and the hands and everything to make contrast, and it's really exceptionally beautiful. Now, as with all Uniform Wears watches, they are a bit pricey for quartz watches, though I do think there's a level of finish here that speaks to the price. This one, which is on a 1/4-inch strap, comes in at $660. It does have an ETA brand quartz movement in it. The watch also, you can get it with a different strap for $610. So that's the range, $610 to $660. So it is high for a quartz watch, but there's a level of quality here that I think speaks to this brand's attempt at becoming this luxury quartz brand, if you will. So let's take a closer look. As I said before, Uniform Wears is known for these lugless case designs, which is the signature of their M series. There's a bunch of different diameter watches. There's 37 up to 42. They all have this simple cylindrical case. They do make cases with lugs, and that's part of their C series. But when I think of Uniform Wears, I really, I think of this, which is just what they've always made. Now this design, it's definitely, like I said, they've improved everything, and this one is nice and robust, and it's really got a solid feel to it and a kind of a nice machining to it. So, like I said, 40mm all the way around. Looking from the side, it's about 10.23mm tall. Sapphire crystal there. Now looking from the side, you can see some of the nice detailing here. So the bezel, which is a nice thick bezel, is brushed going around, whereas this main central case here is matte, and it's a really nice matte finish. And I feel like I've never really thought like two mattes are different, but this one is different. It's a bit more satin, and it's kind of got a nice kind of a different gray tone. I think they really played with finishing throughout the whole watch to create different tones of just one metal to make something really quite beautiful. So yeah, here you have the matte. You have this nice little divot here cut out so that you can get to the crown more easily. Just simple, nice detailing. When you look at this side, you can actually see, it might be a little hard to pick on the camera, there's a little gap there, which means you could pry the bezel off of, just kind of part of the assembly. I like that they have little moments like that, because they're very much about like the industrial process and about how that all kind of comes together to make a watch. And you can see this beautiful, super thin line here that it just all fits so well together. You run your finger on there, you cannot feel a difference between these two surfaces because they're so perfectly sized to each other. And then on the top, you have vertical brushing going across, which adds a really nice kind of effect of light to there. You can probably see as a kind of glimmer and glints. It looks beautiful against the dial. And the edge here, I mean, I'm not going to try, but I almost feel like you could like cut yours. It's like so perfectly sharp. Really incredibly machined there. Flipping it over, you have a pretty standard case back, screw down, some details about the watch. Nothing that special there, but just a standard case back. I like that it's actually a bit robust. This watch actually has a nice feeling, nice heft to it for a quartz watch. A little heavier than most, and it works with that solid steel look. So the real star of this watch for me is the dial. And it's the same dial layout they use on all of their M watches, but they twisted it up for this one particular colorway, or the all some kind of metal color. Rather than having batons, these main indexes are cut into the steel plate here, and there's a couple of different plates that kind of interlock to create different textures. Now, I know this is actually, it's a laser cut steel. I asked them when I met with them because it was just so cool looking, and it's so precise in here. The edges, the corners, the way these markers go down part of the way. It has this look of a very modern manufacturing process that's really quite exceptional. So yeah, you have these two discs. The outer disc, which has the large batons kind of cut out of it, also has a index going on the very outside. So you have kind of longer markers every 5. You have shorter markers for the individual seconds, and then you actually have a sub-second dial, which is unnecessary considering it's a quartz watch that's jumping right over them. Just kind of makes you want it to be mechanical all the more. So I don't know if that necessarily should be there, but it does look good. So take that as you will. And then the contrast of finishing is really interesting. You have radial brushing on that surface, and the inside has actually super fine concentric circular graining in there. So it almost looks polished, almost looks satin, but when you get really close to it, you can see tiny fine lines in there, which give it this really kind of wild look to it. You can see how it shoots light off in this perfect kind of hourglass shape there. It holds the light differently than the brushed does. So what it does provide is kind of a lot of contrast to the hands that are above it. It provides a contrast to this outer disc. It's very cool. It's just like, I can't quite explain it, but this metal on metal look, it just really does it for me, and it's particularly well executed here. Uniform Wears never puts their name on their dial, so you won't ever find their logo there, but you will see Swiss made. They're obviously trying to push that here above 6 in this same kind of whitish looking laser etched finish. Just off of 3, you have a date window. It's a black date on a white disc. That fits well enough. I would also like to see one without a date, frankly, because I don't know. I just love the look of all this steel. I feel like it would have been even more profound, just totally clean. Looking at the hands now, hour and minute hand, kind of simple shapes. You have a sword hand for the minute, and then the hour hand is just kind of truncated and blocked off. It lines perfectly up with the edge of that inner circle. They're they're brushed kind of going in the direction of the hands there, so they actually look darker than the rest of the steel. And there's one other level of finishing I actually didn't even mention, which is that underneath the perforated indexes here is a fully mirrored finish, which often looks darker, so it gives them contrast. Just such a cool play in one material. To get that much effect out of one material, I think is just fantastic. On the wrist, the Uniform Wears M40 wears very well. 40 millimeter lugless design is a very comfortable shape and size. I think it's actually a fairly substantially large looking watch. I think for a watch like this, they do make a 37 millimeter version of this case, though not with this dial. And this is the dial is really what attracts me to this particular watch. But there is a massiveness to it. There's a lot of presence. It's really beautiful. I mean, I've said it 100 times already in this review, but the mix of finishing is just so profoundly gorgeous that, this is one of those watches you just stare at all the time, and it's very sleek, it's very sophisticated, it's very modern. It's more masculine than I even would have expected. I consider other watches to be unisex, but this one, there's something about it that just is kind of manly. It's just the all metal look to it is kind of strong, though. I do think anybody can wear this watch. I have a 7-inch wrist here, just for reference. So this watch does fit very well. Definitely has a lot of presence. At 10.2, 3 millimeters tall. It's thin enough to go under a shirt sleeve, though it is tall enough to be noticeable. So, you know, I mean, it's an interesting actually mix of sizes. It's almost sporty. It's verging on sporty, but then the look of it is very, you know, kind of conservative and kind of strict, but just a beautiful watch aesthetically. I love, you know, wearing it with gray here. Obviously, it goes with gray. I mean, it's totally atonal, so you can wear this with just about anything, and it'll look good. Good casual watch. You could definitely pull this off in more formal settings as well to, you know, I think a certain point. Now, Uniform Wears is putting much more emphasis these days on their strap options, and they're selling straps separately from the watches, some at extremely high prices. I mean, they have these alligator and stingray straps that are a few $100s and mesh straps that are a few $100s. This is one of their newest straps. It is actually a Japanese shell cordovan on a German-made strap. So you have the feel and look and feel of shell cordovan here, and it's a nice thick plush strap. The cordovan appears to me to be on a kind of a top layer, and then there's leather underneath backing it, so it isn't like a straight cut, you know, piece like the Nomo straps are like. But it is very nice. It's very comfortable, and you do have that really beautiful kind of almost plasticky look that comes from shell cordovan that is beautiful. Really nice buckle here too. Matches with the finishing. Really sharp lines all around. Just a really expertly crafted buckle there, even though it's so simple. Now we actually have the two other straps that this comes with. One is brown and one leather, and the other one is rubber. And I'll show them to you now. Now looking at the M40 on their brown Italian calf leather strap. This is an interesting look. It's a much paler look, and it makes the watch look a lot lighter in color, it's an interesting change. The brown here, it's a medium brown. It's very flat. It's not my favorite brown, to be honest. It's a little bit it's almost creamy. There's almost like a milkiness to it that I like. Brown's a little bit more of a richer, kind of a orangey tan to it. So to me, this is a little bit bland compared to the black, which really just makes the case just jump out. I mean, it makes it just, you know, adds that contrast to it. But the construction of this is, you know, seems to be pretty nice. It's very clean. Obviously, there's no stitching on it, so it's just this very seamless look to it. You know, and this is a cheaper option if you were to get this watch. But I feel like if you're going for this watch, which is already expensive for a quartz watch, that the $50 to get a cordovan strap is, you know, totally logical anyway. That would be my opinion. But anyway, there's one more choice now, which is an Italian molded rubber strap. So let's take a look at that. The third option that is available is this light gray Italian molded rubber strap. This is a little bit more interesting. I think this pushes the pale relationship kind of further than the brown. So this is really pale, and it, you know, obviously matches more with the tonality and the color of steel. So you have there's a little bit more like a logic to this, and it looks interesting to me. Still not. I still like the black cordovan a bit more, but you know what you have here is obviously a bunch of different grays that are going together, and then the mix of the rubber with the steel just makes it feel all the more modern. Like it's just two, you know, materials coming together that you know, are very synthetic and very kind of you know, industrial, if you will. I mean, obviously there's many watches with rubber straps and steel cases, but with the finishing and just everything here, it feels a little bit different looking. But once again, I mean, I think this kind of looks nice with like a gray shirt. It's cool, but I just, you know, I guess I'm a sucker for cordovan. So to wrap up, the Uniform Wears M40 brushed steel is it's just a beautiful watch. I think it's definitely my favorite watch that they have come out with, even if it's just a variation on the theme that they've kind of had for a while now. I think that this use of material is it's very interesting, and it's different from everything else they have, and I think it's more conceptually kind of interesting take on what they're doing than just simple color variations and, you know, using PVD or anything like that. What you can get out of well thought through finishing, an interesting process such as laser cutting the dial, all this stuff to make a really contemporary watch that looks and feels like a new watch by a new brand with kind of a, you know, pushing this type of aesthetic, is in my opinion like the exact kind of thing that this brand should do to stay very relevant. Now, you know, obviously for those of us kind of watch nerds, the issue of it being quartz is always going to be there. You know, $660 for a quartz watch is a tough sell for those of us, who have mechanicals and whatnot, that costs less than that. But it is such a beautiful watch and an enjoyable watch to wear that I think, there's an obvious argument to be made for it if you like it a lot. I think essentially, though, with their pricing is that they're, A, retail, and B, going for a slightly different market. People shop at Barney's for watches and et cetera. And, in that instance, I think they're getting a really great watch compared to what else is available largely at, that type of store, this kind of, large box stores. So, once again, M40 by Uniform Wears, I really like it. I think it's definitely a watch that's worth looking at, definitely a watch worth appreciating the manufacturing on. Please read the full review on Worn&Wound. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thank you.